good future planning.
Some of what you just described, the need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place, and of course for large transactions currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. They're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering. Will be necessary.
Bill, a lot of people say Apple Pay is going to transform the financial services industry. What do you think?
Well, Apple Pay is a great example of how a cell phone that identifies its user in a pretty strong way lets you make a transaction that should be very, very inexpensive. So the fact that in any application I can buy something, that's fantastic. The fact I don't need a physical card anymore, I just do that transaction, and you're going to be quite sure about who it is on the other end. That is a real contribution. And all the platforms, whether it's Apple's or Google's or Microsoft, you'll see this payment capability get built in. That's built on industry standard protocols, NFC, and these companies have all participated in getting those going. Apple will help make sure it gets to critical mass for all the devices.
Have you asked or considered asking Tim Cook to help you? Here's a question for you. You were talking about wallet PCs and digital money 20 years ago in your book, The Road Ahead. How come Microsoft hasn't entered this market already?
Well, Microsoft has a lot of the banks using their technology to do this type of thing. And the mobile devices, the idea that a payment capability and storing the card in a nice secret way, that's going to be there on all the different platforms. So the vision, we've got, Microsoft had a really good vision in this. My time on this area is all foundation focused.
But you're advising Satya Nadella, the new CEO, on technology and strategy. Should Microsoft be a player in this business the way that Apple has become a player now, and Google has its own digital wallet product, and PayPal is being spun off from eBay?
It's certainly Microsoft should do as well or better, but of all the things Microsoft needs to do in terms of making people more productive in their work, helping them communicate in new ways, it's a long list of opportunities Microsoft has to innovate, and taking Office and making it dramatically better would be really high on the list there. That's the kind of thing I'm trying to help make sure they move on.
Is Satya Nadella moving fast enough?
I'm very happy with what he's doing. I see a new sense of energy. There's a lot of opportunity there. Some things the company isn't the leader on, and he sees that he needs to change that.
You've been outspoken on Ebola. You've donated $50 million to the fight against Ebola. And you've been more optimistic about the chances of containing and controlling the outbreak in West Africa. But we last heard from you on that subject before the patient was diagnosed in Dallas. What do you think now?
Well, I think that reminds people we do have an ongoing tragedy, and it's really awful. There's 22 million people in those 3 countries, and we need to get this under control, because not only are people dying of Ebola there, the health systems are shut down. So all the other diseases, measles, malaria, there's even more deaths taking place there. At the same time as we get it shut down in those 3 countries, we need to make sure it doesn't spread to other countries. Now, the richer a country is, if you have a good primary health care system, you should be able to handle that. So the fact that this Dallas patient was identified, the contacts are being traced, I feel confident the CDC is very much on top of that. I wish every country had a health system like that. There are parts of Africa that don't, so we're helping them build up the capacity that if a few people happen to come in with the disease, they'd be able to get on top of it. We helped Nigeria, and there was a case that went up there. Unfortunately, now all the contacts have been traced, and right now there's no Ebola in Nigeria. So the U.S. government's really stepping up on this, and I think that is going to let the world get on top of it. But we should have had better primary healthcare systems, and that's a long-term task. This reminds us to keep investing in.
That's a very hopeful. I am here with Bill Gates. We know him from Microsoft. We now know him for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Bill, it's great to see you. Great to see you here in particular because we know the Gates Foundation for its work on infectious diseases, child health, nutrition, agriculture, education, the list goes on. Why does Bill Gates care about finance?
Well, it's all about helping the poorest. And one thing they don't have access to is bank accounts. The fee structure, if you have small amounts of money, is just too high. And we got involved in some traditional microlending, but just didn't see how that could scale up and get inexpensive enough. So now we're involved in trying to make sure we get a very efficient digital payment structure set up for all the poorest in the world to get financial products that work for them.
What are you doing?
The idea is that typically through the cell phone, you should be able to send money to your relatives. You should be able to track the money that's coming in, set aside money to buy seeds.